Good afternoon. It is Friday, August 9th. Taking a look at ES here for a session recap. Focus on the hourly chart to show the current structure at play. Now, coming into the session, what we wanted to see was how price was going to respond to that near-term range high. Currently, we have, or at least coming into the session, we have pretty much near-term range for the duration of this week. We wanted to see, are sellers going to continue to show up in this 53.40, 53.60 area as aggressively as they have been with every previous test this week? The answer to that question was definitely not. Price giving just a range day today, first range day that we've had for the entirety of the week. So a much slower session today compared to days prior this week, kind of a higher volatility regime that we're in. And buyers doing a good job of absorbing most of the supply that we have in this prior day high area, in this 53.40 area, and even making a push for that 53.85 to mark the session high there. For Monday, the primary watch is going to be how price trades versus today's high. And as a reminder, what we have on the weekly chart here is a very, very large hammer. So I'll be looking to see if early in the week next week, buyers can show some follow through on this hammer candle. Remember, this week, to start the week, we have a big gap lower. Price tested that weekly time frame area of support, key weekly pivot through here. And pretty much from there, it's just been, for the most part, a rebound. Right? We did have that retest here during the Wednesday afternoon and overnight Thursday session. But if I'm not mistaken, that was Monday's volume point of control. Yeah, so Monday's volume point of control basically just retested during that overnight sesh. And you see buyers stepping in again following that retest. So here's a 5-minute regular trading hours look at the week. You can see the value area pretty much migrating higher, which tells us most likely this range is some sort of accumulation. And Monday, or at least early next week, Monday, Tuesday, maybe even with CPI Wednesday, we'll be looking for that continuation push up through 53.75, key resistance from last Friday to test the 54.10. And then there's still an unfilled gap here from last Thursday into Friday. So some notable structure points to be keeping an eye on in the early portion of next week. Monday definitely could be a slower day, being that we do have PPI on Tuesday and then CPI on Wednesday. Expecting some big volatility with CPI, so looking forward to that action. Now jumping over to NQ, the structure is pretty similar. We essentially have that near-term range. The weekly bar is going to look exactly the same. Big hammer after testing weekly time frame support. And what we wanted to see for today, essentially a very similar type of watch. Can that 18,400 area hold as support? Can buyers continue to sustain price up here? Or were the sellers just going to hammer this thing lower back into the near-term range low? Now, once we had proof that that 400 area was being supported, that was a good sign that price may make an attempt to run the pre-market high. We ended up seeing that, did not see it during this morning's live stream. I was looking for it a little bit earlier in the session, but later on in the day, we do see price run right up through that pre-market high, right up into that 18,640 upside level of interest. So some good technical trading for today, some really clean action in NQ despite the kind of more range-bound conditions. You could see the pullback here later in the afternoon to that prior day high offering some really good scalp opportunities for 50-plus points on multiple occasions. Now, as far as what we'll be looking at on Monday, what I like to see with NQ is how price responds to today's high, which is essentially 18,675. Very similar type of structure compared to ES. You have that resistance point from last Friday. Price kind of finding a lid there for today. But note this kind of consolidation here where today's volume point of control has settled. So if this is reaccumulation for a push higher into Monday or into Tuesday, that is kind of one possible scenario that I'm thinking about, to test Friday's high, last Friday's high, and then close this unfilled gap. And again, this is all based on action that we saw throughout the week, right? As well as the fact that the weekly bar does show that big hammer going back to the weekly. So this is kind of the main theme and main idea that we're going to be working with here early on into next week, is that weekly time frame chart, wanting to see whether or not buyers are able to show any follow through here. And it'll be pretty simple. Just going to be looking at this week's high, which is today's high. So I hope everyone had a great sesh. If you guys have questions about anything, my DMs will be open in the Traders Think Tank through the weekend. Feel free to reach out if you have questions about anything. You need help with your trading, you need help with your executions, trader psychology, whatever it may be. Feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to help out. Otherwise, I'll see you Monday morning. We will be live streaming again. See you then. Have a great weekend.